inspire attacks on Americans at home, that's going to be the result. The people who said that were completely right. So it's your burden, Ted Cruz, to explain why they're wrong this time. And if you can't even, he doesn't have to give me the exact population of Iran.
What's the weather there right now?
Ballpark it for us. Convince us that you understand. And he utterly failed at that. And I think Tucker actually does know more about Iran than he seems to.
When I watched that, because they posted it last night, when I watched it, I thought, it reminded me so much of the scene where Gabe is interviewing Andy to be office manager on The Office, and he's like, "How far is the sun from the Earth? How big is it?" Andy knows the answers, but it's like, you're right. There's like a vaguely unfair piece to that. Tell me 10 things about Iran right now. Right. At the same time, the onus to know about the country, and you don't have to know everything, right? But the onus is on the people who are saying, let's go in there and destabilize.
Because you hope he's getting briefings about it right now.
Well,
I hope he has a staff of foreign policy experts who should be telling him this is the situation in Iran so they can make sound judgments. And also, Ted Cruz is known for being one of the more rhetorically gifted members of the Republican Party. He's a great debater. I've seen him do debates. He did a debate with Bernie Sanders on health care, on Obamacare years ago. That was really good.
He's smart.
Yes. He's a good debator. So that does not inspire confidence for the haucus position.
No, and what he tried to do, and like, I'm not the world's biggest Tucker fan. I don't hate him, but like, Tucker is right in this situation. I mean, is Tucker totally over the top and theatrical? The like, the leading and the doing the like.
Yeah.
Yes, of course he's being theatrical. He's a performer at some level.
I've learned a lot from him.
But I mean, he is really the like, you don't know that? The like feigned outrage. But he's not wrong either, right? Like, I do think that, because you see, Ted Cruz, he does the political thing where he's like, you don't know anything about Iran. It's like, no, I mean, like, it's important, I think, to have this conversation, because I keep going back to it, but like, you mentioned this, go back to the early 2000s in Iraq. Go back to the fact that we did rush legislatively, congressionally, we did sort of rush into it. And anyone who was like...
Although it looks well thought out compared to what we're seeing right now. Yeah.
But anyone...
We consulted other nations. We had Congress discuss it. And that got described as this kind of lunatic one-man show by George W. Bush. Compare that to this.
Yes, and I do think the danger there, though, it's those who don't remember history are doomed to repeat it, right? I remember the debate that, you're right, there at least was a debate, but the debate that went on was, this is America, we need to rally around the flag. And there were the Bernie Sanderses of the world saying, like, wait, like, I don't hate America or anything, but should this be what we're doing? Because exactly what you pointed out, Robbie, which is what comes after this. And it's like, everyone should go back, and I know they won't do this, but go back and watch some of that debate and what was said by the establishment who used the flag and used patriotism, said this is the right thing to do, and then what we have learned in the 20 years that followed it. Because, like, again, I don't think Tucker is wrong. I think if we are going to go in there and at least we're going to involve ourselves militarily if we do that, and at least potentially create that this becomes a broader conflict. I'm not saying it will, but it could. Even if we just try to replace Iran's leadership. That's not an insignificant thing. That is something that we should think hard about before we do and have a public debate about. I do not think it should be a thing that the president just says, like, and this is whether it was Kamala Harris in office or Donald Trump in office or Joe Biden.
And I don't believe, by the way, that the policy would be noticeably different if Joe Biden or Kamala Harris was
certainly not if it was Joe Biden.
Not Joe Biden.
I don't know Harris's foreign policy well enough.
I don't quite know either, but she didn't really articulate she didn't articulate any clear differences with her boss, Joe Biden.
No, she said she would do nothing different.
Right. I would see them getting roped into this by Israel to just the same extent. And look, I get it's not the same country as Iraq. No. It's a different place. Maybe the circumstances are different. Iran was a more advanced society at the time the Islamic extremists took over somewhat unexpectedly due to the unpopularity of the monarchy, and it was a coalition of of lefty revolutionaries too, and then the Islamic extremists won out. But if we're just going to go in there and kill the Islamic extremists that are in charge right now, and then it's just going to be other Islamic extremists, probably, or is it going to be, will this make a country that is closer in proximity to Russia and China than it is to the U.S., does this mean other hostile foreign powers get even more power over that government? I mean, and we don't want to really be fighting them halfway across the globe for control over this country.
How long are we going to stay in?
Just, I mean, are these questions being considered right now? Where are they being considered? Can Ted Cruz talk about that? Again, he's a smart person. I don't have anything specifically against him, but we're really seeing a difference that we've explored a little bit on the show today between even on the right, an establishment conservative media, establishment conservative officials, and an independent podcasting alternative media personality empire represented by Tucker Carlson and others that is just way more skeptical of this than they are. And the last thing I'll say on this, but Donald Trump is correctly credited as having won this election in part because of how he used the podcasting network, appearing on podcasting, this new media ecosystem that appeals particularly to young men and has brought them over to the Trump fold, very successful in that regard. He should listen to the fact that every personality in this environment, maybe not literally everyone, but this environment is far more against this than the more establishment talking head conservative figures. That is where the ecosystem is. So he is in some ways going against, if not his base, the media apparatus that helped bring him back to power. And I think he should think through why that is the case. Why are they all leaning this way, and I'm going against them on this one? Because usually his instincts to not go against those kinds of people are smart and better than anyone else in the Republican Party. And I think he needs to, there's a long way of saying, on this one, I think he needs to listen a little bit more closely to Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan to do a bellwether for him.
One last point that I was thinking of when you were talking is Trump, when he ran the first time, 2015, 2016, he was really, even in the general election at some level, he was really running against the old Republican establishment, right? The Bushes, he attacked George W. Bush and Jeb Bush. I know Jeb was running, but as much as he attacked Barack Obama. And that sentiment, which was Trump understood the disconnect between the Republican leadership, especially in Washington, and what the base of the party wanted. That chasm had been growing, and he channeled that. And it does feel to me like he is and he's, to your point, he's always been good at that. Yes. He has sort of this innate understanding of kind of what that base wants versus what the McConnells of the world want, for 100%. Lack of a better word. And this is, look, Mitch McConnell is going to be in favor of this, right? The foreign policy Republican establishment, hawkish, is going to be in favor of this. And Trump has almost always expressly run as someone who thinks those people don't get it, which is very interesting to me that he appears to kind of be, if we had to do a pie chart, if we did the New York Times needle,
right,
it would be more over toward kind of a strike in Iran than it would be we're not getting involved.
Yes.
It's very different than he's approaching things. Just to echo your point, I thought that was great.
I have condemned what Mike Lee did here at home, and I will speak to him about this when I return. And what I'm going to tell him is, this isn't funny what happened here. This was an incredible woman, her husband, her 2 kids yesterday on Father's Day. There was no Father's Day for them. They lost both their parents.
That was Minnesota Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar blasting Utah Republican Senator Mike Lee for his social media post after the murder of a Minnesota Democratic lawmaker and her husband last Saturday.
Mike Lee posted on X, "This is what happens when Marxists don't get their way," referring to the murders. Lee followed up with another X post of the masked man's photo alongside a headshot of Vance Bolter, the 57-year-old suspect, writing, "Nightmare on Walt Street," a reference to the governor, Tim Walz.
Lee's official government X account, however, struck a much more serious tone. He tweeted on June 15th, quote, "These hateful attacks have no place in Utah, Minnesota, or anywhere in America. Please join me in condemning this senseless violence and praying for the victims and their families." Other Democrats also disavowed Lee's comments. Senate Minority Whip Dick Durbin said they were beyond dangerous and absolutely unacceptable. Senator Patty Murray said they were completely, quote, "unhinged and abhorrent and divorced from reality."
Donald Trump Jr. joined News Nation yesterday to discuss the Minnesota shooting and rhetoric in politics. Take a look.
Everyone talks about Minnesota, but they don't talk about the guy seems to be a leftist. It's a Minnesota politician, or guy who was appointed by the Democrat governor, vice presidential candidate for the Democrat Party, Tim Walz.